Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is StepsBasic, and welcome back to my community show. Anyway, so stupid intro part aside, welcome to my community show. Today, I'd like to introduce the newest idea for a sub-show on my community show, which is Explain Yourself. For those of you who've been following me long enough to know that I tend to like to overanalyze things that I don't like. But if you've been paying attention, I also like to overanalyze things that I do like. And that's where the idea for this came from. And I wanted to stop for a moment and think about, how can I monetize this? No. How can I make a show out of this? How can I make the idea of it? And I'm kind of doing a test run to see if I can do it now. I'm picking a kind of milquetoast topic today, i.e. my favorite Marvel character is Captain America. Now, of course, I've had a variety of favorites throughout the years, but Captain America's always stayed strong, in the idea of it. And so we're going to overanalyze why I like Captain America. Now, of course, this is going to have to go into a lot of the things that I can remember about him, bearing in mind that my memory has been kind of faulty lately. But, apart from that. So this is going to be kind of a test run, as it were, because this topic is not, this idea won't always translate well, because sometimes it's really easy to find out why I like something, as opposed to why I don't like something. So overanalyzing things that I don't like is a lot more complicated, a lot more difficult, a lot more in-depth. And take, for example, why do you like chocolate? Because it tastes good. Can't really get any deeper into that. It doesn't really affect much else. Now, if I were to go on to say, why don't you like milk? That raises a few more other issues, like why can't I explain, how do I explain why I don't like milk? It's a much deeper idea, much deeper context. However, I do like milk, so that won't be ever a video in this series. But anyway, so let's get in here and let's try this. So, Captain America. Captain America is the super soldier, the super strong, super fast character who is always willing to do the right thing, and always willing to put himself on the line to fight for the right, as it were. And of course, when I say that, obviously I don't mean the right politically, I mean the right thing, like wrong and right and wrong, you know what I mean, right? Anyway, so I like Captain America, but compared to other Marvel heroes, he's a bit subpar. He's strong, he's fast, he can jump really high, he can throw his little shieldy thing, little frisbee, bunk. But compared to them, he's like nothing. Like, especially count the Hulk. A direct comparison to Captain America's abilities. Captain America's super strong, super fast, heals fast, throws things, and, is... Did I say super strong? Well, either way. And the Hulk is super strong, super fast, throws things, loud, breaks stuff, etc. But comparing the two is like comparing apples and oranges, because even though they have the same skill set, the mentality and the application thereof is different. So, Captain America versus the Hulk is a completely different battleground, as it were. Whereas one is a mindless raging beast, the other one is Captain America, smart and intelligent and able to put himself out there. But in my opinion, it's not the aspects of their powers that make me like them. Because if I was to judge the Marvel Universe on what my favorite power set was, it would be Nightcrawler or people like him. Because of the simple fact that the teleportation is one of my favorite power ideas out there. And the idea of being able to teleport yourself one place to another is really cool. So, obviously, I don't like him because of his powers. Now, that's an interesting topic right there. Now, I worded that in that way because, I don't like him because of his powers. Because it also translates into I don't like him because of his powers. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit on that by saying Reed Richards and Kamala Khan are two characters that I don't like because of their powers. And in that aspect is their powers make me not like them. I like them as people, but their powers gross me out. I have never been a fan of stretchy powers. That was a tangent. Let's go back to Captain America. But obviously his powers are not what make me like him. Because, well, super strong, super fast, etc. Of course, the thing about it is he's not supposed to be as super powerful as he's portrayed. He's supposed to be literally peak human condition, i.e. the strongest version of human there is. He's not supposed to be superhuman. You know what I mean? At least that's how he was originally introduced, at least as far as I remember, is while he was infected or injected with a super serum to make him super strong and, whatnot. It didn't make him superhuman. It just made him like top shelf human. Like, oh, down here we have the cheap human, which is, the overweight balding YouTuber. And up top we have the top shelf human, which is, super strong, fast, and heals good and throws a shield like a frisbee. And that was one thing that I really liked about it, was he wasn't necessarily a superhuman, a superhero. He was a hero who did super things. And all of that mostly came about through his unwavering dedication to doing the right thing. And that in turn is one thing that always made me like him, was, it's really hard to always try to do the right thing, because sometimes it's just very easy to say, no, I'm tired of it. So why don't I like Superman, who is another example of a very similar character style, always trying to do the right thing, etc.? Well, turning back around to Captain America hasn't always been Captain America. Because when he recognizes that things are wrong, i.e. the most current example thereof would be Captain America and the Winter Soldier. When he recognizes things that are wrong, he will abandon the people that he has worked for in the event of having to uphold the right, the good, in the world. So, like Superman, he's like, I stand for truth, justice, and the American way. I'm pretty sure they got rid of that finally out of the echelon, because there's no guarantee that the American way is the right way, as it were. And one must always stand for truth and justice, but the American way is kind of a little sidebar, a little side tangent there. We don't need that. And Captain America was Captain America. He was literally the symbol of freedom. The man, the shield, the legend that was Captain America. Until he wasn't. He was nomad for a time, where he gave up the shield and the stars and stripes and whatnot. I don't think he gave up the shield, but he gave up the stars and the stripes in favor of a more global appearance, because we are all human. And America is not the end-all be-all of what is human. And Captain America represented that. Now, of course, the funny part is, people will say, oh, you like Steve Rogers, don't you? He's a plucky, very out-there type of guy. And honestly, I found it hard to identify with Steve Rogers, especially the one in the movie before he became Captain America. While I will fight to the point where I can't stand up anymore, I've never had the point of being so sickly that it was an issue, because I'm 6'2" and I have always been heavy. Maybe not heavy as far as fat, but I've always been, big and beefy. I used to joke, I'm the tank of the group. I'm always the tank of the group because I'm a big fella. So it's not Steve Rogers per se, but the representation of Captain America. And that includes basically every person who's ever been him. I just sprayed coffee on my mic. When the Falcon became Captain America, I was like, cool. and he embodied the spirit that was Captain America. That's one of those things that I kind of like, and I'm okay with when people take an established character and replace them, but they keep the actual, like, who the character is. Like, Steve Rogers is replaced by Bucky, or replaced by the Falcon, but he's still Captain America. You know what I mean? Now, of course, slight issues when they replace named characters with people and expect you to call them the same name. Like, hey, this is Steve Rogers. This is the new Steve Rogers. You're not my Steve Rogers. Who are you? Go away, you silly. Perfect example being Thor. I don't like the idea of gender swapping Thor. Of course, you can go into the long discussion about, who Thor is and has been and who they've always been, but in the end, the established universe at the moment is that Thor is the name of the character rather than the title, which would be the God of Thunder. Which, hey, you can change that, but if you're going to call the new person Thor, then I'm sorry, you're wrong. It's not Thor. It's the new God of Thunder, which, cool. But anyway, that's semantics. That's a canonical argument there, and that has a lot of in-depth conversation there, and of course, blah. But anyway, back to Captain America. So, we've established that the reason that I like him is because of how he presents himself and what he fights for. Now, of course, when looking at superheroes, that's kind of what you expect for most people to say. On the other hand, most people also expect you to talk about their powers and be like, oh, I love this character because their superpowers are like the best. The best. He's the best. But no. In my opinion, the representation of their values and their morals, i.e. the hero part of the superhero, is important, more important arguably, than the representation of their powers, i.e. there are certain superheroes who have been deemed superheroes, even though the only aspect they fulfill in that is the super part, i.e. people like Reed Richards. While he is he's smart and has done great things for the world, he's also a bit of a sociopath in that he likes to create bad things. Tony Stark is another example, i.e. the creation of Ultron and all that fun stuff. But in the end, the hero part to me is always most important. That's why I have always enjoyed certain characters like Luke Cage and the Defenders, because they are literally like low people on the totem pole, as it were, but they are doing the most good, the most heroic, i.e. Heroes for Hire was one of my favorites, back in the day. And the idea was that they were providing a service to people, but not making them feel, tied to having to repay that service, because I'm a hero for hire. You pay me money, I do a job. Does that mean that they're not going to be heroes? No. They'll probably fix whatever you hire them for or whatever you don't hire them for, because they are heroes. But they remove your sense of debt to them. And most heroes don't do that. Superman flies around the world, saves people from all sorts of nasty stuff out there, but he doesn't charge for it, doesn't alleviate their issue. And of course, Captain America is the same way, but he worked for the government, so he kind of got paid on a what do you call it, a civilian salary. And I can tell you from experience, those salaries aren't the best. But hey, at least he was getting paid for his work, right? Of course, that was what led us to the more interesting parts, working for the government as a superhero, is what led Captain America to move away from the idea of supporting wholeheartedly a government, because he became a weapon and didn't like it. And I remember a long time ago this instance where he actually teamed up with Wolverine, and it was back before he was, the modern day Captain America. So he was working with Wolverine, and they had to infiltrate, and I think it was Zemo. I think it was Baron Zemo. God, that was so long ago. But he had to infiltrate their thing and attack. And it was an interesting idea because Captain America, being who he is, you don't really see him in the idea of a stealthy character, but being all stealthy and infiltrating, especially alongside Wolverine, raised a few how's he gonna feel about this? Now at the same time, he was going up against a supervillain at the time, so there was no question that he needed to do what was right, and he did what was right, if I remember correctly. Stupid memory. So ultimately, it comes down to, why do you like Captain America? Explain yourself. And yes, it does come down to the fact that he will not give up. He will fight to his very last breath. He will do what is right, regardless of what is good, because what's right is the more important thing. And the idea of what is right is not subjective. Therefore, if something your government or the people you work for is doing is wrong, then you're gonna have to step aside and say no. And Captain America was not afraid to do that. Now, I like the fact that he was a normal human, well, I should say the height of human, and that he still fought alongside the giants of the Marvel Universe, i.e. the Wolverines, Tony Starks, all the Avengers, really, and led them as their leader on occasions. Because, hey, who better to keep the supers in check than a normal, right? And that is me explaining why Captain America is my favorite Marvel hero. Of course, that may change because, like I said, sometimes I like other characters more because I just shift back and forth. But Captain America has been the one that's been the solid favorite for the longest time. But anyway, apart from all that, who's your favorite Marvel hero? Let me know down in the comments. My announcements for the day are, of course, very close to the end of Borderlands. Maybe one episode. Maybe I'll finish up the Moxie's Underdome. Let me know what you think. I don't really like the Underdome because it's just a lot of arena fighting and all that fun. Why am I holding my coffee cup? My arm's getting tired. Apart from that, had a good, productive week. Got most of my stuff done. Now I'm looking at next week, and I have nothing backlogged, so I'm going to try to keep up with it. But, it being my daughter's home this week is going to be a kind of a more difficult thing for me to do. Yeah, but anyway, who knows? That's it for the announcements. That's it for the video. Thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of the Community Show. Explain yourself. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't poke that like button for me. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, you are more than welcome to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Oh, when I can, if I can. You know all that jazz, and tune in next time for another episode another time. But until then, good night.